is so important. If you're an artist listening, watching, whatever you gotta do to make it work, make it on a napkin, make it on like the back of a notebook, found objects, cardboard. Just keep making it if you feel like you need to do it. It's like exercise, right?
For sure.
Like breathing, the idea that like you should stop, don't stop.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not like one of those people who are like, give up your dream for your day job. Fuck that. Like, you know what I mean? You can have your day job and your dream.
Yeah. Welcome back to another episode of Inside Hilton's Head, where today I am on another field trip. I am in Greenpoint, New York.
Greenpoint, Brooklyn.
Greenpoint, Brooklyn. I am here to see the artist, Frank Francis. Frank Francis is a New York-based artist whose mediums can range from photography to fine art and all across the board there. He uses his creative eye to capture images for brands and publications like West Elm, Vogue UK, Architectural Digest, Target, and many others. He's Architectural Digest's 2024 approved photographer. I'm sure you've done that multiple times.
It was twice now.
Yes. Now. Love that. And has shown his work, his art work, I'll say his personal work, and solo and group shows here in the States and beyond. His first book, Remember the South, is out now. Frank, thank you so much for joining me or having me in your studio today.
Hilton, thank you so much for even, inviting me on the podcast. I'm super excited to be here.
Of course,
thank
man.
you. Yeah.
Of course. It's been a long time coming. I will say that. The thing that kind of ties all of the episodes together is most of the guests are people I've known. People I've had some sort of personal relationship with. You happen to be an individual who I have a relationship with because you worked with me on something, but we weren't there together.
Yes.
And this happened to be my first Target collection. You were the photographer.
Yes. I shot the ad campaign for Target. And I was like, who was Hilton Carter?
Hey, man, I get a lot of people like, who was Hilton Carter? Yeah. That's why I was happy about that whole collection coming together. How did you end up getting this particular gig?
That particular gig, it was sort of like a normal bid for ad campaign. And I've already loved working with Target before that anyway. And like it was sort of just a semiotic sort of relationship that happened. And then once I saw I had to do research before the project and, putting together a treatment. I looked at your first book and I was like, man, this dude has great energy. Hey. Love the plant game. And I was like, the product, we got to see the product on the pre-pro. And I was like, this is really beautiful.
For sure.
And that's like, I wanted it in my house.
I love it.
And I'm like, and I was like, finally I began to love plants during that shoot. Like it was one of those things I was like, I did not like plants pre that shoot. And I was like,
you didn't like plants. What is it? Well, what has a plant done to you, Frank, personally, where you were like, I don't like y'all?
No, so for example, I'm from the South, right? Like I used to sling blade like an acre of like grass between snakes and ticks and all this stuff like as a kid. So like I was like, I don't want any plants because I don't want to have any things in my house. So I had a misconception, basically.
Of course.
So during the shoot was a re-education, which is awesome. Then post shoot, we got to take a bunch of the plants home, which is awesome.
Getting free plants.
Yeah. So I gave plants to family, friends. I had some in the studio in my house. Like I was like, bet. Now I got plants everywhere.
As you should, man. As you should. Yeah. I'm sure that that process of taking those images for the brand, which I will say was so beautiful. Like when I was presented, I will say, with who was going to shoot the products, they said it was this guy, Frank Francis. I was like, I don't know who that is. But then they sent me your whole bio and I looked through it and I was happy to see that, for one, you were a brother. Okay. But for two, what type of work you shot. Okay. I was like, this leans more towards what I'm excited about artistically than what I could have imagined Target would have allowed to be ads for my actual line. Yeah. Because it was very heavy in, I would say, contrast, shadows, all of the things that I told them that I was interested in. They took those notes and said, this is the photographer for this project.
Yeah. Look, it's very rare that I get to do like things that feel like art for commercial brands. And I think it's like every time I work with Target, I have a chance to cross that line. And with their project, I think I worked with Hillary Robertson, which she's an amazing set designer, stylist. Like she's incredible. And I think for her to like the background she brought for that shoot, the way she's arranged everything, I was like, it was just phenomenal. And like to me, I'm like, that was the thing that helped me reach into like the artistic bag of tricks
for sure
as well.
Frank, I totally forgot that we both know Hillary. I didn't even know Hillary worked on the project.
Really?
No, until she told me. And this was like a month ago. She was like, I worked on your Target project. And I'm like, huh? When? How? I had no idea. And I've known this lady. I just never met her until we were in, where were we? Copenhagen together? We were in Copenhagen for the 3 days of design. And she was mentioning how she'd helped me with the Target collection. And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. But we've all had a few drinks. Maybe you have. Yeah. But she told me that she worked with you. And I was like, oh my, like this world gets smaller and smaller because she also is her publisher for her book is my same publisher.
That's right. I forgot about that.
Yes. So that to me was just like, how small did this world get because they pull all these people together. And I wanted to talk to you, just to sit with you and have these discussions, not just about how you and I have worked together, or you brought my first line to life. Like you were able to put together everything that was going to go on the labels, on the site, things that people would see and get them excited about the actual line. But also just to talk to you as an artist. Okay. Now, many of us, I'll say if they know Frank, many of us have seen your photography. You have shot a lot of interiors. You don't become a approved AD photographer by creating paintings, right?
Yes. No, you don't. No, you don't.
It's a photographer in there.
Yeah.
From what I've seen, you are a lover of shooting interiors. Would you say that?
Yes.
What gets you excited about the process of shooting an interior space?
Well, I can just say, I'll go back to like being a kid, right? Like my initial memory was growing up in the trailer park. So to me,
trailer park, where are you?
In South Carolina.
Where in South Carolina? In
a place called Prosperity.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Are you serious?
I'm serious.
Prosperity, South Carolina. Yeah. How many people?
I don't know the size of the town, but it was my mom and my sister and I. We lived like single moms. We lived in a trailer. That's my earliest memory of like home, right? So to me, like even growing up, I went to specialized high school in South Carolina called the Governance School. Okay. And my final project in my 12th grade, like last 6 months, was shooting architecture.
Oh wow.
Which was like, like this memory came back to me maybe a couple years ago. And I was like, wait, I was always interested in this world, but didn't really follow through with it. Yeah. Until much later, right? Much later. And then I started working. Essentially, I started working at One Kings Lane, which is really how I got trained as like a photographer, man. Like I started out as a retoucher. Okay. At One Kings Lane. Okay. And we, at One Kings Lane, when it was hot, like we shot everything from jewelry to people. We do home tours. Like, this would be 1 week. For sure. So in 5 days, you will be shooting in the studio. You'll be shooting products of jewelry, socks, toys. Okay. By Friday, you'll be doing a home tour in the Hamptons or like whatever. Or you'll be shooting some budding interior designer in the studio within a set that we built there. So like I did it for 9.5 years. So you're getting your toolbox of all the things that are possibly going to be in your future that you might shoot. You're getting all those tools sharp, and so you're getting ready for that. Unknowingly, of course, didn't know what the hell I was getting into. I was like, yo, I got a job, guys. That's important. I was like, I have a job. I was married at the time, so it was like we need stability. So it was a thing that like what really. What was this? I don't know the years, man. This is a while ago. It was from the age of 15 years ago. 27. Okay. No, so like I'm 40 now, so I was 27 to around till I was 36. Okay. Basically. Wow. Yeah, I call myself the 2 Chainz of photography. 2 Chainz didn't blow up. He was like 36, right? Of course. All right. And I didn't blow up yet, but I'm like I'm still I think on my way to going as somewhere. You should be, man. And that's the and I will say, and I had this conversation with someone else. I think the whole thing is always striving to be continuously trying to reach success versus I've made it. I'm already there. I'd rather still be on the path to making it than saying I made it. Now, where else can I go? Exactly. You know what I mean? Exactly. So I see you as you're still climbing up that mountain to
wherever that goal is, and maybe you reach that goal right as you decide, you know what, I'm done with this life. This life has had enough of me, and you get to rest and go to the next life, maybe, right?
Yeah.
But I totally see what you're saying as far as just like how those small little lessons and then early jobs, those things kind of enforce who you can be later.
Yeah.
What was the major, I would say, takeaway from that first position that you had?
Well, I would say from the major takeaway was just don't stop. Like, I mean, I've always had I gotta just keep going sort of attitude
For sure,
about everything. I'm like, I'm like a dog. I'm like, there's a bone, let's go get it. I'm like, and for me, like, I say I'm an artist because like, I think of art first. I've been making things in my mom's house at the kitchen table since I was about 6.
What kind of things?
Drawing, paintings. I mean, like sculptures. I mean, anything that just made me think about making anything, I would just do it just to get it out.
For sure.
And I think that, I call myself an artist because I make interiors from a point of, like, my point of view is that like I find people's attitudes, their personalities when I meet them. And I say, I let the house tell me what it's going to tell me.
I was going to ask that question.
Sorry.
No. It's right there for me to ask. So for those who don't know, you shoot interiors, but not just like, you're not just coming to my house. You're not coming to Hilton Carter's house. You're going to like ultra fancy homes, like megastars, Aurora James, Swiss Beats and Alicia Keys, Hugh Jackman.
Yeah.
All of these like mega stars, and you're walking into these spaces. Whenever I look at anyone who's capturing images, like especially when it comes to Architectural Digest, I will say like that is always like my like on my vision board. What do I want my home to look like? I want to look like what Alicia Keys and Swiss Beats have. I want to look out into the Malibu beach or sky. It just looks like everything just so pristine. The art, the light, the texture, all those beautiful things happen. When you, as a photographer, get a job, right? You get the job, let's say for Alicia Keys and Swiss Beats. When you think about the project, when you walk into the space, do you think about it as whoever X photographer could come in here and they will shoot it one way, but I'll come in here and I'll shoot it a different way because my eye is so different? Or is it when you go in, you're like, this place is going to be special and be different than every other shoot I've done in an interior space because of the way the interior itself is set up? Like, are you the one controlling how different your projects look?
I would say, well, first, I'm going to step back. I want to shoot your house. Whenever you want a shot, whenever someone, we're doing it.
Okay.
I would love to.
Okay.
All right. That's first. And then secondly, what I would say is that like, I look at every shoot like it's game 7, right? Like to me, like I'm not a big sports head, but I know like the pressure is on when I get these shoots. I'm like, yo, I have to make sure my head is clear. My team's head is clear. And we go, I'm a staunch collaborator. And to me, like I have to collaborate with people all the time.
Okay.
And like, so for me, like I go and I say, okay, hey, what can I make with these people? Then what can I bring from the people, like whoever the talent's home, who are they? Who are their kids? And then who are sort of like, or what are the emotions I can bring out of the space? Because if you look at my work is super moody. I mean,
for sure.
And
I know your work.
Yeah.
I love it.
And for me, like I'm a very emotional, sensitive artist. Like I don't know many artists who aren't, but like for me, like I bring it in my work.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and I try to be vocal about it so that it's like therapy. It's like, to me, I want to bring that out in the work. And I don't look at myself as making work like Frank can make it. I just want to make the voice of what I'm doing be made by Frank, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. Well, it makes a lot of sense. In that process of feeling out, I would say, who the individuals are who dwell in that space. Do you get a sense of that by seeing other images, or do you walk through their space first, look at it, then take that information home with you, figure it out, and then pull together your dream team of individuals who can then bring that story to life in the stills that you're going to take once you go there?
Well, I would say like in the past, I haven't had the opportunity to pick the team, for example, but the teams who I have worked with have been the most, I think, influential people for me to learn from as I work. I consider myself a full-time student.
Okay.
Always. Like I never want to walk into space like I know everything.
For sure.
So for me, I'm like, whoever I work with, I'm like, what can I learn from them?
Yeah.
And so whoever that is like, I then take that into consideration.
Yeah.
Then I take into consideration. I usually don't get a scouting report of people's homes, of like celebrities' homes in a big way. It'd be like a small thing. And it usually doesn't feel the way that the home does.
Of course.
And when you walk in, you're like, wait, there's a lot of magic here that you can't see or hear or speak about.
Mm-hmm.
So when I get there, I'm like, wait, I just know we can make something different. So I do a walkthrough.
So what do you mean you can't speak about it?
So meaning that like, so for example, I can speak about my artwork. I can say like, I made this thing about this with this theory.
Yeah.
But I don't understand the theory of someone's home until I'm in their home and I meet them with their home.
Got it.
And then I can speak about their energy, their passions. Like, for example, I know we're going to maybe speak about Swiss and Alicia. And for me, like, everyone is the same. Like, I don't treat any human differently. Like, whether it's a celebrity, you, me, like my mom, sister, stranger, they're all the same to me. Like, I want the human experience. I want to be human.
Yeah, for sure.
Always. It's just being human.
Yeah.
And to me, like, the best thing I can do is just be human with everyone. I want to see their bathrooms. I want to see their bedrooms. You know, like, so to me, I'm like, I need to be the best human I can be for myself and then for them.
Mm-hmm.
But more importantly, like, I'm being the best human for my kid. Like for my son, like everything I do is an example, living example for what my son can potentially be or be better than. Like me.
Sure.
You know what I mean? So to me,
man.
like, in additionally to that, like other kids who look like me, you know, like they can say, oh yeah, I can potentially do this too if I want. So to me, like I bring all that baggage when making work. And I think that's why I call myself an artist, not a photographer. I'm not going there to just make architecture look good. I'm there to make the soul of the building come alive. And I think that like I want people to understand that about what I do. You know what I mean? Like I use a camera mostly for a living at this point, but I want to use anything that I can just create something with. But again, like I want other people to know that they can then be influenced to do that too.
For sure.
You know.
Okay. Well, before we get into the fine arts, the more I guess personal work.
Yeah.
We're still in this interiors pocket because I exist in that space. Love looking at beautiful homes. Love looking at beautiful art that is created by the photographers who capture these spaces. Because it isn't, I know this for a fact, you can't just walk in with a camera, hit it, click, and it's like, this is beautiful. Yeah. You have to have that eye. So as a photographer who shoots a lot of interior spaces, what is the thing that you look for when you walk into an interior that gets you excited? Like you're like, oh, I see this color. I see the texture there. You're looking at lines. You're looking at the light that is coming in. Do you even get a sense before a project of what direction certain rooms are facing?
I usually have no idea. I mean, like what I can see is I walk into a space and I say, yo, this room's lines are crazy, or this light from this window is amazing. So let me figure out how to make that like sing. I want that corner to just be hot. You know what I mean? So like for me, I'm like, I'll then talk to the stylist. My team will be like, yo, how do you think florals will be here? What do you think about this angle? And I do this thing called walking the room. And I usually
tell us about that.
So walking the room is that me, like I do this thing and I'll go to every corner and be like, how does that look? How does this look? And I'll just hand hold and just like shoot a bunch of things.
Is this day of?
This is day of. This is day of. Like this.
You
is day
don't
of.
get like a nice scouting day to just walk through?
No, I mean I get a scouting report, but I don't get a day to scout. Like I mean, literally, you have to. But this is what I'm saying. Like you have to get used to just being on, like just ready,
run and gun.
Yeah, like, just ready. You know what I mean? Like
for sure.
So
you know what? I just want to say for a second, bravo for you to be able to capture what you capture. Not getting at least a moment to just sit around the house and go, all right, well, at 10:10 a.m., the light looks really nice as it comes in right there on that. Mark that down. We'll capture that when we come in. Over here, you just walk in, you go, all right, this looks good. This looks good. This is good. All right, let's figure out what style-wise, what we can style in this space, and then we'll capture it today.
Yeah, I mean, so again, I have a fine art background. I have a MFA in art practice, which.
Where'd you go to school?
School of Visual Arts.
SVA, huh?
SVA, yeah.
Look at you.
Yeah.
All right, so it was South Carolina to New York?
Well, it was South Carolina to Ringling School of Art and Design. From Ringling, then to SVA.
First, okay.
Yeah, and then from SVA undergrad, worked for a little bit, and then I went to grad school with my ex-wife. We went together as a team, as a tandem.
Got it. Okay.
And that was the most informative sort of experience of like me being an artist of thinking. But I was going to say that like during grad school, I learned how to sit in space and then come to like think about space. Like Robert Irwin was one of my favorite sculptors, artists. And he's a California, I want to say space light artist in the movement from the 60s, 70s. Fact check this later, guys.
We'll put it in the show notes whether or not he's wrong.
Yeah. But anyway, but Robert Irwin did this piece in the Whitney, screen piece in the Whitney, I think in the 70s, where he sat in the space for a few hours and was like, I want to think about the space to see what it will bring to me.
Yeah.
So in my head, I have this meditative moment, like that is very brief. And I walk into the space and I'm like, this is how I can see a space. After I meet a person, then walk through a space with my team, I'm like, oh, now I know the soul of it. I can know whether I need to go brighter, lighter, depending on who the personalities are and how I'm feeling with that person.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's helpful.
No, that is very helpful. Okay. So learning to sit in the space. I think everyone should learn how to just sit in a space in general. Like whenever you walk into a space, sit in a space. But as an artist, as a photographer, learning how to just figure that out, sit in the space, that meditative state that you said, that's about what, a minute, 5 minutes tops, pull it in and then go, all right, this is what we need to do. A lot of the stuff you're talking about as well, what I'm thinking about, brighter, darker, are these things that can be finessed later in post, or is this like, we're doing this all in camera right now?
No, it's mostly in camera. I mean, I come from a school where like my black and white teacher at SVA did Robert Frank's prints in school. So like everything had to be done in that space. So like I try my best to get everything done on set, you know, which is, I have one tech, which is my friend Olivia. So she knows like when I'm shooting, it has to be like on point, and whatever twist we add, she'll add, and she knows what to add at this point.
Got it.
So like, again, it's all a team. Like, it's, you know, like it's not just me. I don't feel like I'm the lone wolf artist. I need my whole community.
Of course.
So that, you know, it's one thing that like, I think as an artist, like I want to know, like people to know, like I need a team.
I love that. And the reason I love that is because it's the opposite of me. While I have a team, when it comes to you, like you have, and I've noticed this, Frank, you have on all of the opportunities to say, I'm a photographer. My name is Frank Francis. I'm a photographer. You've decided to say, my name is Frank Francis. I'm an artist.
Yes.
And director.
And director, yeah.
And director. Decide not to say just photographer. And I we talked about this before we sat down. I don't want to say, I was going to say I've struggled with that myself because I don't want to say this is a struggle for you. But I will say it's because I don't like someone trying to box me into a thing. So I've always said I'm an artist. So whenever people say like, what is your bio? Artist, author, and then I'll drop maybe plant stylist or stylist, right?
Got it.
But it has to lead with artist because in that, I feel like artists, I can be this, and this. But if I say I'm a plant stylist, you're going, that's the plant guy, and that's all you can be.
Ooh, no, I mean,
right?
No, I don't. But even from I just saw your HBO show, the first episode, and I was like, yo, you're not just a plant guy. I was like, you're interior designer.
I appreciate you.
And I know in this time right now, like because Instagram has made everyone an interior designer. Yeah. I think you had that before you showed up to the scene. I think. And tell me
thank you.
Wrong.
No, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. Well, I will say, and I've talked about this too, is that the main goal was always to be interior designer. And then the plant stuff just became a part of it because people were so excited about the plants that they saw that I had.
Got it.
Right? So I never really just put myself as plant or interior because I always want to still dabble back into painting, drawing. I myself, reason I know about SVA, I know about Ringling. I applied to Ringling, got into Ringling. I didn't apply to SVA, but I applied to Pratt, got into Pratt, and other art schools around the country. But for me, it is those tools, like you were talking about when you were in high school. Your first job.
Yeah.
Those tools that you learn when you're in an art school that provide or sharpen anything that you have in your toolbox. Yeah. So as a photographer at certain points, I utilize my eye for composition through the process of what I was taught in my painting classes or color theory classes, things of that nature. So when I see you and you're like, artist, and I'm like, but I know this guy's work as photography and mainly interiors, but I'm not going to hold him because I know what he means there. And you tell me if I'm wrong here, or stop me if I'm wrong here. There's a balance of the work and the balance of what you're creating for your personal art.
Yes, I would say the balance is that like, I would step back to say that like all my photography work, I would hope that you can take it out of a magazine and put it in a museum. My goal is that when you see a Frank Francis image, it feels like one image is a complete image that can feel like it can coexist in any art book next to any painting, sculpture, and feel like it is a part of some point in history that is a marker of history. Like that is the goal. I may not be doing it yet, but I hope I grow up to get there.
For sure. Of course. And I think, and I personally know for a fact that it is, and many people that we know together know that. Because you've captured, because I see it as art.
Yeah.
So that's why I know that when you say I'm an artist, it includes the photography.
Yeah.
You're utilizing the camera the same way you would utilize a brush.
Yes.
The same way you would utilize a pencil or a piece of charcoal. Yeah. That's how you're utilizing your camera in the times when you do utilize it, right?
And then can I go back to the balance?
Please.
And then so the balance is that like when I'm not doing commercial work, I'll come in here and I'll make paintings because I need to, like that's my outlet. I have to do something else. But I also think, so for example, like this body of work we're sitting next to is like my cotton paintings. I don't have a proper name for it right now, but that's what they started out at. Right now it's the infancy, but they're pieces of cotton that is layered as if it's black and white photographs, layers of black paint that is like you're having something emerge from the bottom as if it was a photogram. Yeah. Like that's how these works are made, but not in the dark room.
Listeners, Frank is actually describing two paintings that we are sitting in front of that are in his studio. Are these, is the application flicking paint on, or it's almost like, I don't want to say it.
No,
you know where I'm headed.
No, of course. No. I mean, it's as if it's raining, it's as if it's coming. Like imagine a wave on the beach.
Yep.
And there's a wave that grows across the canvas. And when it comes up, this is what you get from the cotton.
Got it.
So to me, that's how I see it. And when I'm working, I feel like I'm at the beach.
Oh,
if that makes sense.
Of course.
Mentally, that's how I've taken it. And then there's other work that I'm making where I say you can go to space for 25 cents. My image is called Space Aid. And Space Aid is images of Kool-Aid that I've then made space galaxies out of.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah. So for listeners,
What'd you just say, bro?
So for listeners, I grew up, in the black community, we drank Kool-Aid.
Kool-Aid all the time.
Kool-Aid, like to me, Kool-Aid was my first juice. It was my first thing that felt like grape soda.
Fam, my daughter Holland calls Kool-Aid special juice.
Because
she can only have it for a special occasion.
Okay.
Because I'm like, yo, there's no way you're having that, even though I had it all the time.
So, and it's one of these things that led to diabetes in our community. Yep. So to me, like I try to take elements that are either from slavery or things that have impacted at least myself and what I know of my community. Again, I'm not an expert, but for me, the things that have impacted me that makes me scared. Kool-Aid was one of those things that I'm like, dude, if I keep doing it, I'm gonna have diabetes. So let me chill. So, but I am taking these things that how can I reapply sort of like what I know of Kool-Aid and then make a space. I want to go to space. Like to me, like I think the Chris Rock joke to say that like, to be famous and black in America, you have to go to you got to be extraterrestrial, you got to be special,
Facts.
Alien, you got to go to space
and
then back. You know what I mean? Like, and so for me, I'm like, how do I take that and then put it into photography?
For sure.
And then so like, I look at like the James Webb, telescope images and I'm like, well, what are they doing in actual NASA?
Yeah.
And like, then how do I recreate that in my studio with Kool-Aid? Because I'm like, now I can go to space for 25 cents. So all the kids like me who grew up with Kool-Aid can take Kool-Aid and be like, it's not just that thing that could cause diabetes or there's special juice now.
For sure.
It's something else. Let's have a different context to the thing that like probably is poison to some people.
For sure. And listeners, I'm actually looking on the other side of the room, which I believe is one of these pieces, a mix of cherry, or as we like to say, red, purple drink, some greens in there. And it does look like, what do you call those? Has a name.
Galaxies,
the star dust, all of that, things that you can find yourself basically looking through and seeing all the stars colliding. It feels that way. When was the last time you had a cup of Kool-Aid?
I had it maybe 2 weeks ago when I was working on more work, because it's a new book I'm working on of images, and I'm probably on like maybe number 2,000, like because I just shoot and I shoot and I shoot.
Yeah,
so this
of
is
course.
The balance. I'm talking more about balance from like when I go from a magazine shoot, my son's at camp. When I don't have my kid, I'm in my studio working. Like I'm just like, I love my studio. Like I'm just sort of like a hermit crab. I come in and I just work.
Because beyond being here, you then travel a lot for the shoots that you go on.
Yes.
And this is what you can reset yourself.
Yes.
To then do the interior side.
Yes.
Because it is two opposite sides of the spectrum.
To you. To me, it's all the same.
Ooh.
There's a thread. Like the thread is like, I grew up and I said, my dream is to use a camera.
Yeah.
I get to use a camera every day. Like I'm lucky as hell.
Hold up. But the Kool-Aid pieces are done with actual Kool-Aid.
And with the camera.
Hold up. Is that not Kool-Aid applied to the paper?
No. It's a photograph.
Oh. Oh, okay. All right. Let's run this back then. Okay. I did not know this. Yeah. I thought I was looking at your application of Kool-Aid, like almost like mixed, like just pouring it onto paper and mixing it up.
No.
So you are adding Kool-Aid to like a flat surface? I will not
explain how I do it.
You will not explain the process,
but I will say
you do it.
The final image is a photograph, and like when it is eventually shown in the gallery, which I'm looking for galleries. Please let me know if you.
Of course. We will post out a bunch of these images for sure because I'm blown away. All right. You take photos of your setup.
Of the setup.
Got it.
But each setup again reveals something that feels like it could be in space.
Copy that.
Or like something that feels like it could be from space of Earth is what I've learned recently. I have a friend who was doing some work at NASA. He was like, dude, this feels like things we shoot of Earth. And I was like, wait, what? Cool. Yeah. So like I'm learning now. I'm like, wait. So my goal now is to try to find an astronaut who I can like then write the forward to. Book. Because I do want to, I'm not that intelligent to go to space, but I'm like, I want to speak to someone who is, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like, I'm like,
sure.
How can we then like find some semiotic thing between the imagery and what actually happened there? So like, I'm like, now that is a point of reference. I'm like, how do we now take it a step further?
For sure. Now, Frank, when you told me that, I was way off on believing that they were similar at all. I want to tell you why I thought they weren't the same.
Okay.
And we'll be right back after a break from our sponsor. Balancing work and life can be really stressful, and finding ways to work through the stress is always a goal of mine. Of course, the process of nurturing plants helps me to slow down, take a breath, and bring in joy. But unfortunately, my plants aren't licensed therapists with expert advice. Regardless if you have a clinical mental health issue like depression or anxiety, or you're just a human who lives in this world who is going through a hard time, therapy can give you the tools to approach your life in a very different way. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and more accessible. And this is an important mission because finding a therapist can be really hard, especially when you're limited to the options in your area. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist easier because it's online, it's remote, and by filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you to a professional therapist in as little as a few days. It's easy to sign up and get matched with a therapist. There's a link in my description. It's betterhelp.com/Hilton. Clicking this link helps to support this channel, but it also gets you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp so you can connect with a therapist and see if it helps you. And because finding a therapist is a little like dating, if you don't really fit with that therapist, which is a common thing with therapy, you can easily switch to a new therapist at no additional cost without stressing about insurance, who's in your network, or anything like that. Starting this podcast was supposed to be a little extra therapy for me, getting the ideas in my head out. Good to know I can always use BetterHelp just in case Molly can't help me. So if you're struggling, consider online therapy with BetterHelp. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/Hilton. Thank you again, BetterHelp, for supporting this channel. Now, back to the show.
So Frank, the thing that I was saying is not that I don't think your work, whether it's your artwork, whether it's your paintings or your Kool-Aid art, don't have the same mood or feel as your interior work. Actually, that is what I'm saying. Basically, if you put one next to the other, I would not get the same feeling from both. And the reason I say that is because your artwork feels, or your fine art, let's just put it there, your fine art feels very, to me, when I look at it, space to me is a lonely, dark place. It reminds me of if I'm in there, if I go into your Kool-Aid work, that is the end for me. It's beautiful and it's a beautiful end, but I'm not making my way back out. Okay. Your cotton paintings, to me, have that same reflective moment of sadness and darkness, but also light. So I can see the beauty in it, right? But with your interior work, every single image I've seen you shoot of someone's space, whether there's an individual in it or it's the space itself, I want to place myself in there.
Got it. I
feel comfortable. I feel excited. I feel inspired. And I want my world, like you said, you want to sit and be in the space. Like I want to be in that space and not in the spaces that you've created in your fine art, even though I find them to be beautiful. That's why I was saying I feel like they're on two different sides of the spectrum.
Okay. So what I would say is I read this essay by Michel Foucault about home in grad school. And what I got from it is that like home, you have this vast levels of emotions, experiences, and each room contains its own level of experiences, right? Like I think of my work like spaces in homes. In your bathroom, you may have a meditative experience in your bath. You have some eucalyptus, some wine, a candle, your book, whatever you want. Like there's a beautiful mood there. You want to be in that space. But then if you get your heart broken, you maybe go to your bed, you may reflect differently. For sure. So in my work, each thing that I make and what I go from this Kool-Aid work to cotton work, and then back to like AD, I want you to be able to walk through these spaces as if you can hold each emotion that you may or may not want in each space.
Yeah.
So to me, like I think of even the home pieces I have, when I shoot someone's home, I think about like, how do they feel when their kids come home from school? Or when their new family members come see that for the first time? What is the energy, the positivity, the optimism for that? So that's why I'm saying like even the mood of my work, I'm thinking about that as I'm working with these people's homes.
For sure.
Or like if I'm shooting someone like Swiss and Alicia, I think about what their music has done for us as a culture. Like a music culture and then as the Black community and then every community.
Yeah.
Because like you don't become that well known unless you're touching every heart. So to me, like I'm trying to figure out how do I touch every heart the way their songs do visually.
Copy that.
Whether it's in space and the space work and the cotton work, I never thought about it. It's lonely because I'm working in this space with these, making them.
You're alone when you're making them.
Yeah, but I also have the optimism of saying that we can rethink these things in a different way.
I love that. Yeah. And you mentioned something earlier about when you're doing the interior work as a photographer, team.
Yeah.
Loving that team. And I talk about how comfortable and inviting those spaces are, like the way you photograph them. And then we talk about how lonely these pieces are when you're the one making them just alone.
Yes. Okay. Good point. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So you are creating based on where you are in the space that you're in. Yes. Whether you're alone or whether you're working with a group of people.
Yes.
And it does come out in the work.
Oh, okay. I mean, look, I haven't, this is the first time I've spoken about this out loud in years. So yeah, I mean, and I've been working in this way for years, maybe the last 2 or 3 years, where I would come from a shoot and just hit the studio hard.
For sure.
So that now makes sense that like, if you're experiencing that, then that's why.
Listeners, if you if haven't gone and checked out Frank's work, the cotton pieces, the Kool-Aid pieces, will they be able to see these? Is there any possible way we can put these in the show notes so they can at least have an understanding of it? Or maybe if you can send me a slide, I'll post it on social along with a snippet of the podcast as well. Because I want you to understand this, almost this duality of what is happening with his fine artwork and his photography and how you believe, Frank, that they do have this symbiotic sort of.
I do, yes. Yeah. But I also think that the viewer, can have your own experience through all the work. Because I do think that like, to me, like I look at myself and I hope that I can grow into like the person to be showing communities, our community, the way Gorton Park showed our community in a very different way over time because he lived in a very different time.
Yeah.
But to me, like what Gorton Park did, I hope to do with home and the way people access how they see home and their potentiality for living in a home like someone or be inspired to then maybe hopefully to access some ability to then view like house, home, living, mood, like other people. Because I do think that we look to other people for some experiences, from some inspiration, all these things. I think that's why we have these outlets, which is amazing. But I think that because I have the luxury of actually capturing these things, I think that is a social responsibility that I then hold that standard for everything I shoot, for everyone I shoot. And I think that like I see myself, I'm only in competition with myself. I don't look at other artists to be like, I'm in competition. I celebrate everyone else who's doing a beautiful work. I don't think all the work is as critical as I think it can be, but like that's just me being as hard as I can be on myself.
For sure.
And I come from teachers like Lorna Simpson, Gary Simmons, like Michael Broder. Like I have a whole list of teachers who I hear in the back of my head every time I work. I'm like, oh, what would they say?
Are their voices stronger than your own?
My voice is the strongest voice because I think that I'm like 41 almost, and I've finally come to believe that I am responsible enough creatively that my voice is what it can be.
Got it.
But I do think that I listen to them and I'm like, am I being as mature as they are? Because these are artists who have been reinventing themselves year over year, decade over decade. They made work for 20, 30 years. And I'm like, dude, how do I can continue to build over time to then have that longevity? Because I do think it's important that as an artist, this work in my studio may never be seen, but I'm going to keep making it.
As you should.
I'm going to keep making it no matter what. You know what I mean? Like to me, I'm like, it's so important. If you're an artist listening, watching, whatever you got to do to make your work, make it on a napkin, make it on like the back of a notebook, found objects, cardboard. Just keep making it if you feel like you need to do it. It's like exercise, right?
For sure.
Like breathing, the idea that like you should stop, don't stop.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not like one of those people who are like, give up your dream for your day job. Fuck that. Like, you know what I mean? You can have your day job and your dream.
Yeah. I mean, you already mentioned it here. It's just like when you're done a interior shoot, you come back here to reset, to find to take yourself to the beach.
Yeah.
You said that.
Yeah.
So we all need those moments that bring us back to home, that settle us, to allow us to get in that mindset to then go do that other work. And I love that this work for you allows you to get into the right place to then go off and shoot the home of this person, home of that person, but still make it all you.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's never so-and-so could have done that exactly the same way because it's all your eye and the way you create it.
Yeah.
And when I see it, I'm like, because I know, when AD announced all of their photographers, I was like, oh, I know this one too. I didn't even know any like how that happens, but I'm like, I keep seeing it on my page. I follow all of these AD photographers, and they're all like, when you see the eye, it's all different.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate that about you. You mentioned your old professors, individuals who've influenced you, I guess, who are still there, whose voices still live there. You mentioned Gordon Parks, which I thought was interesting. Oh yeah, I'm guessing he's a huge influence on you.
I mean, one of the first books I bought in high school was a Gordon Parks books.
Do you know which one it was?
It was Autumn Pass. It's on my shelf over there, but yeah,
okay. Autumn Pass.
Yeah, I think that's the name of it. But I bought it like from the library for $1.
What is it that has got you excited then and still resonates now?
What gets me excited about what got me excited then was I didn't realize that one person could have visited our community and shown it, like from the Harlem gangs to like the American Gothic piece. I mean, like he went all over this country and made his vision, but then he made like the Learning Tree. You know what I'm saying? Like he made Shaft. And I was like, dude, I mean, like the level of just like ingenuity and just like, I don't know, man, the energy he had to have to go from one place to the next without being affected mentally or emotionally, which I would imagine he had to be affected in some way.
For sure.
But then he was uber elegant. I don't know if you ever saw images of
course.
Him. He was one of the most elegant brothers in the world. I was like, dude, I can't wear ascot, but I'm like, but like
another Hilton wore ascot, and like what they say, a variant. There's a variant of me wearing an ascot.
But I thought it was amazing. I'm like, dude, I want to be like that guy. I was like, I don't want to show poverty. I mean, I've lived a bunch of poverty. I have friends, a bunch of artists who I love who we've all come from one place to another. But I want to show like the way you can have all the worlds be shown. Yeah. But I am tired of hearing about Black poverty, Black athletes. I love Black athletes, but I'm not one. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I'm a creative, you know what I mean? And I want kids to know that, you can be a creative. You can be an astronaut. You can be a doctor. You can be whatever. I never even thought I could be a doctor, dude. I mean, it never even came up that like, Frank, you could be a doctor. Yeah, and I'm like, what? I'm like,
yeah, I mean, you're hitting the nerve, man. I mean, what I do, like, there's no, those little characters they have of like police officer, doctor, lawyer, all the things of like professions people can be. They never saw a black guy doing what I do, right? When you saw that book of Gordon Parks, you were probably like, oh yeah, we can do this.
Dude, I mean, but again, I've had so many great teachers, friends of my family. Like, I wouldn't be here if it just wasn't me saying like, or seeking the most dope humans to be like, oh, what did you do? You know what I mean? Like, and I met like people like Matthew Jordan Smith, Kwaku Austin. I met Micheline Thomas and Hank, like before they were like as big as they are now. And like, these are people, when I saw Hank and Mickey, like they were super young. And I was like, I was thinking I was in my early 20s and I was like, dude, how do you guys do it? They're like, yeah, we just do what we want to do. And I was like, what? my head exploded. And I was like, you know what? I was like, I want to be just like you.
Love that.
You know what I mean? But like, I was like, dude, I was like, I don't know. I was just super excited. And I see you, your little cat pen and shit, and your dope ass shows, your books. And I'm like, I want to be like Hilton too. Like, so, like to me,
Facts.
like this is a real example. And I'm like, yo, this is dope.
That's you know what? I love that, Frank. Thank you. But I love that because that's how I feel about you. I look at your work and I'm like, God damn it, I want to do that. I want to be just like Frank and do those things. But that's how we uplift one another.
Yeah.
I want to get back to interiors really quick because I want to talk about the uplifting part of what you do and how, like I said, it inspires me to want to be in spaces like that, create spaces like that, and how we can look at ourselves and go, oh, I can get that too. I can probably be there. You've captured so many different homes, so many different people. I don't want you to say like you enjoyed one home or one individual more than another, because I'm sure you've gained so much from all of them. Yeah. But what was one space that you were, or one space or the people in that space that you were surprised had shifted kind of who you were or what you thought of them?
Okay. Well, I'll say every shoot I do with any individual, whether celebrity or not, changes me. It affects me.
Got it.
But I would say like two of the early ones, I can just say two early ones, I would say 2020, 2021 was when I sort of came onto like the largest scene of AD, El Decor, things like that. Like Sheila Bridges was like one of my first shoots when I got taken on by art department. Yeah. And, you know, we were like, you're going to shoot Sheila Bridges, which I've known her work for like a little bit, but she's a god in the interior design world to me. You know what I mean? Like legend. Yes. And like, so like, you know, we showed up to shoot. She's like, you know, we were sweeping her porch, make sure everything gets clean, you know, for each scene, you know what I mean? It was amazing. But then Sheila was like, taking us to school, like, yo, this is what my thing is. This is how I learned the Harlem 12, like, bop, 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 like just going down. Like, so that we did that shoot. We didn't know it was going to be a cover. It became a cover. Wow. It changed sort of like the whole like vision of who I was at the moment, because I was like, I didn't think I could do that. I didn't think I was worthy enough at that time. So this goes back to self-worth, which is a whole different, let's go to therapy for a second.
Yeah, man.
but really like the work that I make comes with like building more self-worth because I didn't have it for so long. And I still have trouble with that at the moment. My therapist would say I'm doing great now, today, but who knows tomorrow. But like doing these early shoots like Sheila Bridges, and then the second one from that like big cover was Alicia Keys and Swiss. Yeah. And I remember meeting Swiss and Alicia, like I remember we pulled into the driveway and Alicia was like, I'm Alicia. And I was like, sure, we know. I was like trying to be cool, but like, I was like, yeah, nice to meet you.
I know who you are.
You know, trying to be cool. You know what I'm saying? But
did you call her Miss Keys?
No way. I mean, like, I was like, she said I'm Alicia. I was like, hey, Alicia.
Yeah, okay.
but her and Swiss were amazing because like I know that like Swiss was just saying like during the shoot, like we were just chatting about things, and he was like, you know, he wants our people to see that you can live a certain way with certain things, with art of our people, to see yourself within them, and then like because they've been where we are, and I'm like, dude, like. That shoot sort of affected me in a way that I was like, wait, I'm doing something a little more important than just taking commercial work. So that goes back to like, how do I take it seriously that I do these shoots? Yeah. And I want every person to see the work and realize that they can look at it. I don't care what color you are, but especially because I have the responsibility of being a Black man. I'm like, yo, I want to show us in a different way with the different optimism and positivity and all these things. And I'm like, look, we still have our low points at sometimes, but you got to know how to come back up. And I come back up by making images of these homes with different people and chopping it up, meeting people like Aurora James or meeting someone like Hugh Jackman and Deb at the time like meeting them at the time they were still together, like it was amazing just to like talk to Hugh.
Yeah.
About just like how much he loved the cold plunge or whatever. Like, and I think he was getting prepared for his Broadway show.
Okay.
And potentially like, I think now Deadpool is out. So like, I realized he was getting in shape for another Wolverine.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, how is this guy? They were so sweet. Like just sweet as humans. And I was like, dude, like, Viola Davis, we had lunch together with her and Julius. And I was like, dude, like just for people to just be that approachable when we show up to shoot their home, like that open. And I mean, like everyone is that open with me, which is again, like I think
it's a testament to who you are.
I think I'm very lucky that my mom raised me very well, and I attribute my sort of personality to her being the dopest mom that she could have been at the time. You know what I mean? Like, so to me, I'm like, and the people around me to help me stay grounded. But I think that just being around these people, making these portraits, they keep changing me. They keep changing me. And like the most recent thing is Aurora James. Meeting Aurora, talking to her about the 15% pledge, which I didn't even know who she was, man. Like,
no,
like I knew about the 15% pledge, but I didn't know who she was as like a visionary. And I was just blown away, man. Like just how awesome she was and approachable, and just like, I don't know, everything about what she's doing. Like I look forward to seeing more, and I hope that I am a witness to like just be there to watch it keep going. So I think that each people I keep seeing, like I learn more and more. And AD is like, I think is a certain standard of, publication.
Yeah.
And I think it is of the highest standard to me, El Decor of the highest standard. Like there's other ones that I think are also of the highest standard, but I feel very lucky to be in that pool of people making work for those publications.
For sure. You do, and you do an amazing job at it.
Thank you.
I'm gonna turn for the camera heads, gear heads, those who
do it.
Love photography. What was or what's the camera that you've used that most probably wouldn't even know that you would use on a photo shoot, like Alicia Keys or Hugh Jackman, things of that nature?
So when I first sort of got with like the larger agency back in 2020, I was gonna go shoot Alicia in Swiss, and I was using a Canon at the time, like which you start out with whatever. I would use a phone camera if I could, but I recognized that like I needed something more substantial. So I bought a Phase 1 medium format camera. It's 100 megapixels, which at the time it was probably a $60,000 plus camera kit that I bought.
Wow.
Like with lenses and everything.
So you had a Canon. What kind of Canon did you have?
I had a Canon, I think it was a 5DS.
5DS.
Yeah.
But you thought that you didn't want to shoot this particular piece with the Canon? Why not?
Well, I didn't want to because of optics. Like, I had to show up. Like, if I'm shooting someone like Alicia in Swiss, they're like the biggest people in the world.
Okay.
Not to say that Sheila wasn't. I just didn't know at the time, like, what the tools I needed. So, like, to me, like, I'm a big believer in, like, if you want to do the best job, get the best tools if you can afford it, right? Like,
got it.
Get what you can afford. But for me, like, I blew my whole shit on getting the Phase 1. I maxed out 3 credit cards.
Okay.
Damn, it went bankrupt. At the time I was married, and my wife was like, "What the fuck?" And I was like, "I know."
I know.
And I'm like, "I'm sorry." I'm like,
but guess what? I met Alicia Keys.
I was like, "I'm sorry," But for me, like the way I live, I'm very edgy in that. Like when it comes to gear, I'm gonna go flat out.
Yeah.
And for me, I'll lose my house to make sure I make a good image.
I hear, dang, man.
Unfortunately.
Hold on. I kind of stomped on that line. I want to make sure everyone heard that. What did you just say?
About what?
You will do what?
I will lose my house to make a good image.
Is that a joke or are you serious?
I'm serious. Like when it comes to art, I will like flat out, I want to make art. Yeah. When I die, they want to be like, Frank owned a dope house. When I die, they're going to be like, Frank made good art. He made good photography. He made good. So to me, like,
he sacrificed his well-being to make sure that he made a amazing work of art.
Yeah. I mean, I won't sacrifice my son's college savings.
Well,
but my house,
sure.
Yes. His college savings is there, but my house may be gone.
He doesn't have anywhere to come back to after college. Exactly. But he'll get to wherever he's going to go.
Yeah, no.
So as far as the Phase 1, that set you back a bit, but I'm sure the imagery...
It made up. Over time, trust me, I paid for it within a few months. It was fine.
And if you haven't seen the images from what he shot for Alicia Keys and Swiss Beats, go seek it out. Beautiful, beautiful home that they have, but beautifully captured.
Yeah.
Right? Because that's what I want to make sure people understand. Yes, the spaces are beautiful, but it takes the photographer, it takes the eye to capture the soul, like you said, of the space, the real beauty of the space, the richness, the color, all of that of the space needs to be captured by someone who understands that.
Yes. But I would also say that, like, because I've seen so many great builds from architects, interior designers. I mean, like from Swiss and Lisa, we work with Kelly Behan, which another legend. I mean, like, I've worked with some amazing people, but I recognize, like, because they're putting in so much of the highest quality, their soul, I'm like, I had to show up and do the same.
For sure.
Otherwise, why am I here? Like, to me, like, if I'm not matching their hustle, or people say match their freak, I'm like, yo, I'm trying to do that creatively. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to do that creatively. You know?
Match that freak, man. I love that. Okay, so in terms of matching their freak, right now, one of the biggest things that all creatives have felt is the power, let's say, of social media. It has made it, and you mentioned this earlier, how it has made everyone an interior designer.
Yeah.
I will say it has made many people everything.
Sure.
Chefs, photographers, filmmakers, painters, et cetera. Has social media changed the way you go about shooting a project? Do you ever think about how something's going to present on social?
I don't anymore. Like, for me, I'm an artist. I get in my head about things that probably, like, if I look at someone's work from AD, I may want to copy it. So I don't look at it anymore. So on Instagram, I don't look at other people's. I look at people's work because I love looking at great art, but I don't soak it in. Like, I don't study the lighting. I don't study the composition, because I would then, like, sort of, like, try to interpret it in my own way. So I try not to do that part anymore. But I do look at social media just to see what's going on, and I do my own social media. But my social media is more like going to a gallery or museum of my work.
We're talking about photography in a sense across the board, especially when you're shooting, let's say, an interior space or just an art in general. You utilize, like, you shoot a lot of interiors, but are there moments where you're creating fine art in an interior space when you're using your camera, or is it mainly a living space that you're capturing? And then we have all the other stuff that exists in fine art, or you're like, I'm going to utilize this camera to shoot in, like, an interior space, but it's leaning on the personal art side.
I guess I'm not doing my job right. If you ask that question, I'm not doing it right.
No, but you know what I mean? Like,
I know.
I don't think I'm asking the question right. What I'm saying is, you didn't wake up one morning and go, you know what? I want to go shoot Alicia Keys and Swiss Beats. No, I want to reach out and see if I can shoot. What I'm asking is, do you wake up some mornings and go, you know what? I want to go. Like, for me, I love mini museums, right? There's a lot of museums. I'm like we were in Copenhagen, went to the Louisiana Museum of Art there.
Okay.
It is a beautiful structure. There are so many beautiful pockets, corners in that museum, and a lot of beautiful art. But I'm looking at the way lines and how it's all built, and I'm like, I want to photograph that to capture that. Yeah. Do you ever, are there pieces that you've created that are just of you going, I'm going to go out and I'm going to capture this particular space because I love the look of that space? I
have not yet. But I do this thing called walking. And
is that something new? I've never heard of walking.
No,
Did you say walking?
Yeah. No, so some weekends I'll walk around the city, or any city I'm in. I'll just shoot random stuff. I'll just shoot buildings, angles, plants, people, trees.
Got it. That's what I'm asking.
And so to me, like, I do that still to then reinform when I go shoot homes. So, for example, I may practice an angle on the weekend. This is outside of the studio,
for sure.
For people who can't see me pointing, but I'll be on the street just shooting angles of architecture. It's something that I've been doing probably since I was 15. Okay. So I have tons of work that no one will ever see of just me, like, shooting angles or shooting clouds or shooting people.
You said it again. This is the second time you said it. Why won't they ever see it?
Because I think it's like being an NBA player shooting the free throw for practice. Like, to me, that's practice. And I don't think that, like, what's practice for me should be in the world yet. I think it's more intentional. Like, people make mixtapes in music. You know what I mean? And then you make studio albums.
For sure.
To me, like, I feel like those mixtapes for me are me walking on the street.
But they put those mixtapes out.
And maybe one day when I feel comfortable enough, I'll show that. But I do think that they really do inform what I'm doing commercially. And I would hope that if one image comes from every shoot I do that feels like fine art, whether it be from AD or some broader target commercial project, like I hope to find something within that shoot that feels like it is art. And if I don't do it, I feel like I failed. Frankly, that's just my own personal.
Of course. And I mean, I've said it earlier that I think what you captured and what you've captured for the product line that I did with Target and what I see that you do for all other publications are art. It takes a real artist to create what you have created. For any young photographer or artist, let's say coming up, listening to this, watching this, you've dropped a lot of jewels here. I'm not sure if one of the things that I would tell them to do is to max out a credit card.
I would say don't do that. I would say, guys, let me step back. Do not max out your credit card. That's just me. I would say don't follow that advice because I think that like not everyone has the ability to stomach that kind of pressure.
For sure.
Because I mean, like, I do well under pressure. I know people who don't do well under pressure.
Know yourself.
Yeah. So yeah.
Before you get into something like that.
Yes. So like I create a lot of scenarios for myself that is highly pressurized because it makes me make better work. Frankly, for me.
Got it.
I don't think everyone should work that way. And I'm not recommending it for anyone.
Yeah.
That's just what I did to get to where I am right now. And again, like I maybe do more things later on, but to get to 2024, that's what I had to do.
I hear you. All right. Youngin trying to they want to be Frank.
No.
Someone's like, I want to be Frank. What camera should they start with first? They're going to go purchase a camera. What's the camera that you would say, go grab right now? Use
your iPhone. Use anything you can use to start taking pictures with it. But if you can, just get a nice Canon. You know, if you can get a mirrorless camera, get a mirrorless camera. The great thing is that there's so many used cameras that are for sale. Get a used camera and just start shooting.
How many cameras do you have when you do a project?
So now I have a phase one. I have one phase one and I shoot with 3 different Fujis when I travel now because the Fuji GFX, it's 100 megs, similar file size as the phase one, but smaller, easier to carry. I carry 3 bodies every time at once because
3 Fuji bodies.
Yeah, because sometimes it gets hot, so they get overheat, or I might drop one. I'm very clumsy. I'll pull a port or something. Like it's just I know me, so I got used bodies as well. Like they're not all new. There's some used, one maybe new that I use, but I rotate between those 3 bodies pretty much every week.
All around your neck. Or you have an assistant someone's holding
so
one?
I have one at a time. I use one at a time, and I have the other 2 in the bag waiting to go. So I'll just switch one out when I'm shooting. Yeah.
As far as lenses, are these lenses that you have accumulated over time, or are you just working with 1 or 2?
No, I use about 4 different lenses. I use like a 33-60, which is a zoom lens, and I use a 35 prime lens. I use a 120 macro lens. And then I use 35 and a 50 millimeter.
50 millimeter.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're now into the speed round.
Yeah. Okay.
Because now we're in this whole things that I get excited about when it comes to lenses or cameras. I know plenty of people who are here with us today. My man Ryan, who also is excited about it. You talked about lenses, right? Let's do something really quick. Primes or zooms?
Primes.
Yes. If you were forced to shoot with only 2 focal lengths, what would it be?
Oh my God, that's rough, man. 120 and 35.
120 and 35. Look at you. Okay. I see it. Film or digital?
Oh man, come on, that hurts.
Hey.
Digital.
Oh, you're going to see some hate. We're going to put this on TikTok.
I know.
We're going to put this on TikTok.
yo, my old mentor, Taryn Simon, she's going to kick me in the butt for that. I'm sorry, Taryn.
Why digital?
It's only because it's accessible to me now. I love 4x5. I have a 4x5 on the shelf. I love film. But for accessibility, I also love my phase one. Sorry, guys.
I can appreciate it. Natural light or studio light?
Natural light.
Always.
It's one sun.
That's right. There's only one sun. So when you go into a space, you're going to utilize whatever the sun can do and then use
I use whatever
fills.
light exists. I use whatever light exists. And if it's daylight, it's daylight. If it's ambient light from a light source, I will use that. I try my best to use light last.
Copy.
Except for portraits. Portraits, when it comes to skin, I use light.
Of course.
Just make people look better.
Exactly. But interior space, you'll use what's available lighting. And will you bring extra bulbs for any of the fixtures, lamps, things of that nature that might be in the space? Dim them down?
That's smart though. No, I don't do that. Okay. But it's nice though. I wouldn't do that.
You wouldn't do that. I would just think about it, and tell your stylist to bring plants if the people don't have plants.
They always have plants.
They always have plants. People you photograph?
Sorry. The best stylists, who I love, always have dope plants.
Love it. Love that. Okay.
There's always some greenery. Like, I know you're a plant Hilton. So therefore I will say I'm always with plants.
My man. So as far as, thank you for one, for sitting with us, having this discussion. I don't want to take too much more of your time, but I do want to just ask this last question because I think it's important in terms of being a creative, being an artist, being someone who is still on that climb. How are you sleeping?
I don't sleep well. I've never slept well though. So
it's not the stress of work that's keeping you
from
getting good sleep. It's just, you're just a bad
restless.
sleeper.
I'm restless. What
are you thinking about?
What can I be doing? Like, I feel like when I'm sleeping, I feel like I should be doing more work or being with my kid or having some experiences with my kid or, I'm at this point.
Kindred spirits.
Yeah. At this point I'm a dad. So like my life, I have two things in my mind always. First is my kid. Next is photography. Luckily photography then gives me the life I can have for my kid. So like it becomes neck and neck in that way. But like for me, I'm always in dad mode. You know what I mean? But I would also like to say thank you for having me on the podcast. I really think that like people you've had on, like they've influenced me, and to be on it is an absolute honor, man. So thank you.
It's been an honor having you, man. You influenced me. I am one of your biggest fans. I will say that because anytime I get a chance to look, and I will say now on social, because it's mainly through social, I get to see stuff that is coming out first, or just been released, and I guess in the space, I just go to your page. So I'm like, let me just check on Frank, because the algorithm's not going to show me everything. Right. Of course, so I'm like, let me go visit Frank's page to see what he's been up to. But everything, man, like I said earlier, I'm just like, damn, it's so good. It's so good. Yeah, so we all appreciate your work. We appreciate your eye. We appreciate the time you put into it. And I'm thankful for you being here today. What is the thing that we can all look out for? I know you said that Remember the South was your first book. You said those words, my first book. Yeah. Are we working on the second?
Yeah, so I'm working on a book now of more Kool-Aid, space aid work. I won't be showing that stuff on Instagram until it comes out, but I'm working on it in my studio. But I also think that, and I have a book coming out. Well, Mika Tenha's book, I got to photograph most of the images for her book, which is coming out in October.
Love that.
And I think it's the most beautiful book. I think because she really styled it and did her thing. Like, it's phenomenal.
It's supposed to say photography by
Frank Francis, which is it's on the cover. It's awesome.
Look at you.
Like, I haven't seen my name on the cover, like, photograph. I'm like, it's awesome. And I feel very proud of their project and the team that worked on their project. Like, it's awesome. So this come out in October.
Okay.
But my next book, Space Aid, hopefully will be out 2025, 2026.
25, 26. Yeah. Space Aid.
Yeah. Look for that.
Look for that. Look for that. Actually, I thought of a question just to wrap this up for any of the young photographers. Because I think the thing you mentioned that I believe I'm now recalling is maybe was the shift and the change. Was it until you got an agent that all of these other bigger projects came up, or when did that thing happen for you?
All right, so to be really honest about this is maybe a little bit longer than a minute, but like things changed in 2020 when George Floyd died, right? Yeah. Like for me, I went into a different mode of just hustle because I was like, dude, if that can happen to him, it can happen to me. So therefore, let me live the dream I wanted to live then. And I had already been in conversation with art department long before 2020. Okay. It was a couple years in the making. Like just
and make sure everyone's clear on what you're saying. Art department is
my agency who reps my commercial work.
Copy that.
I don't have a gallery yet. So like if you're interested, let me know, please. But like in terms of my commercial space, art department represents that commercial work. And my agent there sort of like helped me. His name is Derek, and he's amazing for me because he's helped me see. In the beginning, I had another agent as well named Adrian, but they both help develop me as a commercial artist. And I think that like as a young artist, if you're thinking about being with an agency, get with an agency who really helps you develop into something more.
How do you figure that out? It's just like having a good sense of people, or
I personally had an agent before that who wasn't at the level as my new agent.
Got it.
I don't think you know until you get into a space and you learn that it doesn't work for you.
Got it.
You know, I think it's like any relationship. You know, you get into a relationship and you recognize there's a benefit to it and there's not a benefit. And I wish that there was a better answer, but I think that you have to get into situations to understand what works for you and what doesn't work for you.
For sure.
Otherwise, you may not be able to develop the things that you want unless you have those experiences.
So you have to have these people in place to help you get to that extra level.
For me, yes. I think I have always needed people to help develop what I'm doing as a commercial creative person because I'm just an artist. Like I am an artist.
You have your head down. You're working. No one else is going to speak about you to get these big jobs because you're not going to speak for yourself. You need someone else to go, hey, my guy's really good at this.
Yeah.
Put him in the game.
Yeah. And to me, like, I feel a bit bad about talking about myself sometimes. I'm like, I need to do more of that. Like I need to be better at like saying, hey, I'm Frank Francis. And like, I'm not good at that yet.
Anyone who hasn't listened to the Derek Adams episode, go listen. That's what he preaches about.
Okay.
Talk about yourself. Say you are talented at the thing that you're talking about, right?
Yeah.
Tell people this.
Yeah.
And don't be weird or feel bad about saying it again.
Yeah.
Because maybe they weren't listening the first time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Thanks, Derek.
Derek's one of the best, man. Frank, you are as well, brother. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, man.
Frank, where can people find you social?
They can find me on Instagram, social, Frank Francis Studio.
Okay.
On social or on my website, frankfrancis.com. Check me out. Hit me up. DM me if you have any questions. I think that's always a fun thing, like to get questions from certain people.
Yeah.
Sometimes the questions are weird, but I'm like, I'll just skip those.
That's what we all tend to do.
Okay,
we look at it and we go, that's weird. Not going to answer that. Moving on. Guys, if you have any questions for Frank for this, leave them in the comments. You know, we say push the button, do the thing, follow and subscribe, of course. But make sure that I'm hoping that they can get Space Aid when it does come out.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It'll be on the site probably.
Remember the South is almost sold out. So that may not be available now at this point.
Got it.
Sorry, guys. Like, it was awesome that it sold out. But
that's
but we probably won't re-release it.
Got it. Got it.
So,
well, guys, you've been listening to the incredible artist Frank Francis, someone who, if you don't know, make sure you go and look at his work right now because you're going to be seeing more of it. You're going to be forced to see more of it. I'm sure you saw it on the counter at one of the grocery stores we've gone to because AD's everywhere. Frank is the one whose images of those people that you might love he's the one capturing them. So take a look. Thank you so much for being with us today, and you'll be hearing from us soon.
Balancing work and life can be really stressful, and finding ways to work through the stress is always a goal of mine. Of course, the process of nurturing plants helps me to slow down, take a breath, and bring in joy. But unfortunately, my plants aren't licensed therapists with expert advice. Regardless if you have a clinical mental health issue like depression or anxiety, or you're just a human who lives in this world who is going through a hard time, therapy can give you the tools to approach your life in a very different way. And that's why I'm excited to tell you about today's sponsor, BetterHelp. BetterHelp's mission is to make therapy more affordable and more accessible. And this is an important mission because finding a therapist can be really hard, especially when you're limited to the options in your area. BetterHelp is a platform that makes finding a therapist easier because it's online, it's remote, and by filling out a few questions, BetterHelp can match you to a professional therapist in as little as a few days. It's easy to sign up and get matched with a therapist. There's a link in my description. It's betterhelp.com/Hilton. Clicking this link helps to support this channel, but it also gets you 10% off your first month of BetterHelp so you can connect with a therapist and see if it helps you. And because finding a therapist is a little like dating, if you don't really fit with that therapist, which is a common thing with therapy, you can easily switch to a new therapist at no additional cost without stressing about insurance, who's in your network, or anything like that. Starting this podcast was supposed to be a little extra therapy for me, getting the ideas in my head out. Good to know I can always use BetterHelp just in case Molly can't help me. So if you're struggling, consider online therapy with BetterHelp. Click the link in the description or visit betterhelp.com/Hilton. Thank you again, BetterHelp, for supporting this channel.